Rock on. Good evening, I hope everyone's doing well. Let's just get this straight out the way. Tommy Robinson, not guilty. Not guilty of committing a terror offence because he refused to give them, the police, the pin to his phone number. In fact, it was ruled that the whole stop was unlawful. So everything these police did, well, it got the case thrown out in an instant. This, of course, has the mainstream media absolutely fucking fuming, because they would have loved nothing more than to drum up the narrative of Tommy Robinson is a terrorist. And as I also said before, this would have set a massive precedent, because it would mean anybody who is supportive of Tommy Robinson could have been locked up, just like that, for supporting a terrorist. That was what they were hoping for. That was what they were hoping to achieve, to silence dissident voices. Because let's face it, Tommy Robinson isn't just a nationwide hero, or even a worldwide hero. He is a symbol of hope. It's about time we actually had a judge who understands the difference between right and wrong. This judge had the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to actually go against the oligarchy and show them up for what they truly are. So tough luck, Keir the traitor Starmer. You're just going to have to put up and shut up with Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Oh, Tommy Robinson. It also means that I don't have to run the risk of going into court for supporting a terrorist. I dread to think what the lawyers would have to go through. Who said the case file would can't even get the words out. Cave in the Old Bailey. Shut up, you. I'm not that bad. This is what I get for trying to be witty. Yes, I know. My brain is a lot smaller than my body. But anyway, the fact is, we can all rest easy tonight knowing that number one, Tommy Robinson was found not guilty, and number two, none of us are going to have to spend our time in court because of a two-tier justice society wanting to screw over patriots. Hell, the only way you're getting me into court now is on the back of one of these fucking things. He needs a crane as well. Shut it. No, I don't. I'd like to see Keir the traitor Starmer get his claws on me. Anyway, Keir the traitor Starmer has lost a major battle with this one. Although that being said, he is probably still ultimately going to win the war as far as getting a civil war is concerned. After all, this man has been doing everything he can to antagonise the public, whether it is covering up for terrorists, covering up for paedophiles, having the justice system basically kick the can down the road as far as Ricky Cutthroat Jones is concerned. Anybody recall him? The disgusting Labour councillor who effectively made threats towards the supposed far right, saying that they need to cut all our throats. A lot of people may have forgotten that shit. Well, I assure you, I haven't. It's kind of hard to forget someone who is fuck, stroke number one, as repulsive as Ricky. How quick do you think this would have been if this was the other way round and it was somebody like Richard Inman or Paul Thorpe or Tommy Robinson, perish the thought, who said they're all far left socialist wankers, we need to cut all their throats? How long do you think it would take for them to get sentenced? Something tells me it would be within weeks, if not days, if not hours. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. Hell, if I said it, I am almost certain within 24 hours I would have the boys round, kicking my door in and dragging me kicking and screaming from my bed into a police station. You might need to install some double doors though I'm not sure they've got some big enough. Anyway, they would send the police round instantly. There are very blatant double standards in this two-tier policing society that need to be addressed, need to be called out, and basically need to be purged from our country. Because what would have happened if Tommy Robinson did not have the judge that he had and had some left-leaning judge or some can't get the words out, What happens if he had somebody loyal to Keir the traitor Starmer? Or perish the thought, what if the fucking Attorney General was the judge? Yeah, something tells me he wouldn't have walked out of that court a free man, quite frankly. So we should thank our lucky stars that we got the judge that we did, and that he actually does have some semblance of a moral compass, that he at least knows the difference between right and wrong, and that he is not going to do the work of the oligarchy, though I suspect his position may now be compromised, although I'm speculating here. But all in all, this is a positive result. And you know what? We needed some good news for a change, rather than all this gloom and doom. After all, my sharp wit and my cracking jokes, or the lack thereof in some cases, sometimes only gets you so far. You need that little bit of a boost from somewhere else. I can't just be the sole purpose, or sorry, the sole reason people are happy. I mean, yeah, I get it, people want to watch my videos and all that shit, but the thing is, I'm no showman, far from it. I am definitely not a showman by any stretch of the imagination. I cannot entertain a crowd of people to save my life. Might be able to give the odd good speech or two, but it doesn't make me someone capable of keeping the morale up of everyone. So when I get home, I'm going to be cracking open Wensleydale, because I think this is a good time to celebrate. Of course, we have to be vigilant. And we have to be especially careful what we say, because right now, there's probably a few of us higher profile YouTubers. I wouldn't consider myself high profile, not with only 4,000-ish subscribers and what have you. But there are a load of high profile people that need to watch themselves, a special branch, and all of the special branches of the oligarchy will have all their eyes trained on them. I hear it even includes a course on neurodiversity. Anyway, they're going to have a lot of eyes on these people, because they're going to look at them, they're going to look for any opportunity to take someone down who is high profile. Think about it. If they can't go for Tommy Robinson, who do you think they're going to go for next? I mean, I'd be shocked if they went for me next, but generally speaking, I think it's much more likely that they're now going to start looking at all the people who are closely knit with Tommy Robinson. I think they're going to look at the higher profile YouTubers, like, as I said, Paul Thorpe, Maya Tusi, not so much Danny Roscoe or Danny Unfiltered, but they're going to look at maybe even political nerds. I mean, we've already seen them try to arrest Maya Tusi. We've already seen the police go after Maya. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try some shit again with him. They are going to find any fucking excuse. And like my video that I'm going to be uploading that I did this morning, and the one after that, or before that rather, they will be looking at us because we've also decided we've had enough. There are people out there right now who are saying they are going to be carrying stuff for self-defense. I think, as much as I am loath to say it, this could be a huge self-own on their part, as they've now basically provided the police a hardcore piece of evidence that says, well, if they've got anything and they, I don't know, spray some spray in somebody's face or hit someone in the stomach with a baseball bat or whatever. I mean, I doubt you're going to fit that in your handbag, but my point is, they're going to see the footage of them saying this, or a social media post of them saying this, and they're going to think, well, that's hard evidence. That is a self-admission. And to be fair, I have also said I will do whatever it takes to stay alive, because at the end of the day, I'm too young and handsome to die. And I'm hoping some of this extra insulation will also provide me some extra protection somehow, though I highly doubt that works, especially when someone's plunging a knife into you. But you know, one can hope. And at least one thing's for sure, they'll have to get through each and every bloody layer. But jokes aside, as I've said, these are very, very dark times. These are probably the darkest times we will face in a long time. The mere idea that a civil war is literally around the corner. The fact that women now feel so unsafe that they feel this necessity to defend themselves. And while I do not condone breaking the law, I cannot blame them at all for wanting to take actions to defend themselves, as we've seen our two-tier policing society have zero interest in protecting us. These guys would rather protect the paedophiles. They would rather protect the predators of children. They'd rather protect terrorists. They would rather protect people that have come from their third world shitholes, rather than protect their own indigenous population. Of course, a load of people won't like the way I say these things, but here's the thing about me, and you lot can say it with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'm not going to mince my words. I am going to say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. As I've said, if you keep telling lies, it's another story or fabrication that you have to remember. Whereas if you tell nothing but the truth, or for the most part the truth will defend itself. It's no wonder Keir the traitor Starmer's closet is full of those fabricated stories that he likes to conjure up. Makes me wonder if he had fucking Roald Dahl in his closet the whole time. But as I said, what it boils down to is the police will be looking for any reason at all. Hey, yeah, I'm okay, you?
Yeah, all good.
Jolly good.
Another day over.
Yeah, it is what it is. The police will be looking for any which excuse to do you. Whether it's you jaywalk, whether it's you carry an item for self-defense, whether it's you're defending yourself without an item against an attacker and the police just have less integrity than a straw I-beam. Anything and everything that they can, they'll do you for. Look how hard they fought to try and get Tommy Robinson locked up into prison. They had mortgage fraud, tried to do tax evasion, assault, self-defense. Obviously, we've had the case where they tried to put him in for not giving the counter-terrorism police, which stopped him unlawfully, the pin to his phone. Now, another thing that I will remind people of, that I did bring up in another video, is some of the stuff that Tommy Robinson's done as far as documentaries are concerned. One of these documentaries, I think I still remember it, I think it was The Rape of Britain, if I recall correctly, where there was a corrupt copper who was taking bribes, basically protecting the people from the Islamic community who were going around raping our children. But that's something, again, the mainstream media are not going to want to tell you. Now, one of his journalistic sources gave him that information. What do you think the police could do if they found out who was giving Tommy Robinson this information? Because it could be anyone. It could be a mole in the police. It could be a private investigator. It could be some average Joe on the street. We don't know that. But what we do know is if they had access to that information, you bet your ass they would be after them. 100%. They would probably put his information out there. And then that way, anytime they see him, they can be like, oh shit, it's him. Let's go undercover. But what about the people that he's had contact with? Some of the people who have been victims of the most horrendous crimes. Being violated by some of these Pakistani rape gangs. Could put all their details out there. Or try to have them arrested. Or try to demonise them. That's the thing. The police are not here to serve us anymore. They used to protect and serve us. Maybe you could say up until the 90s. Now, they protect themselves. They protect the oligarchy. They protect the criminals, the terrorists, the rapists. Like, effectively, what it comes down to is the police could do so much damage to the credibility of Tommy Robinson and, of course, the people who are giving them this information. It would allow them to stop documentaries like The Rape of Britain from coming out, or the Silence documentary, which then means that we can't expose the oligarchy's treachery. That is not something we want them doing. It's sad when you think about it, because I'm willing to bet if you're willing to ask these people 30 or 40 years ago, do you trust the police? I'm pretty sure the vast majority of them would say, yeah, we do. We trust the police implicitly. But now we've seen what they've done over these decades, how they protect the Islamic community, how they protect the people who are going out of their way, violating our kids, committing terrorist atrocities and all the likes. Hell, Keir the traitor Starmer would stop at nothing to protect Axel Radaku Banana from basically having his identity exposed. That's why he put the reporting restrictions in there, specifically to prevent us from knowing the truth. Of course, to play devil's advocate, I can understand why Keir the traitor Starmer and of course the counter-terrorism police would want to do that. Who would want anybody basically infiltrating their groups and dishing out the dirt of all the corrupt crap that goes on in those organisations? Just the mere thought of it alone is enough to put a chill down almost anyone's spine. Imagine what they could have done. They could have prevented more children from getting justice. They could have prevented more rape gangs from being exposed. They could have prevented more corrupt cops from being exposed. This is why this needs to be marked as a significant point in history, because they would have used that smear of Tommy Robinson being a terrorist to lock us all up just for supporting a man who is effectively the most persecuted man in the United Kingdom. They would have done everything they could to suppress the truth from there on out. They could use Tommy Robinson as a springboard to go after other journalists who go against the government narrative. Yeah, I'm really trying hard not to have the third stroke, believe it or not. And it is extremely backwards, the mere idea that you can literally go out of your way, stab 3 girls to death, but they won't label you as a terrorist. You could go out of your way on a Huntingdon train going from Doncaster to London, stab 11 people. That doesn't make you a terrorist. But not giving your number, your PIN number to the police, even though they stopped you unlawfully? Yeah, this is my seriously not amused face. Apparently that makes you a terrorist. Make it make sense. And they wonder why there are more and more people talking about the prospect of civil war. There are people wondering why there are people who are thinking about a mass shutdown of the country, much like what happened in 1924. Remember all those coal workers who just simply down tools, fucked off, let the government do its thing? Worked for a few days, but the trouble was the government had the supplies, so they could starve out the coal workers. What they should have done, these coal workers, back in the past, is they should have seized control of critical supplies for the oligarchy. That way they couldn't outlast them. It would be the other way round. Then it would be the miners can outlast the government, and then the government would have had to concede, as they wouldn't have been able to stay in it. If any civil war or revolution were to break out, and I'm not advocating for it, let me be absolutely clear, as I've done every single time without fail, I'm not advocating, condoning or justifying it, but I think I know where my mind would be if that were to happen again. Critical supply points. Thank you. Let me put another hypothetical scenario to you. Imagine you're back in the medieval times. Imagine you're sitting in your nice cozy little castle with your troops and your food supplies and all that shit. Now, imagine your food gets stolen by, I don't know, brigands or an enemy faction or whatever. Then, said brigands or faction brings along sieging stuff. So they bring the likes of catapults, trebuchets, bring lots of cavalry, foot soldiers and all that shit. And now you're in a castle with little to no food. And they're sitting outside that castle. They could literally starve you to death. Although I suppose I could feed a good number of people for about 10 days. Anyway, you would have a hard time surviving in that siege without food. Now, of course, they'd rather not use the catapults and trebuchets, as they want to keep the castle intact. So, they wait. They let starvation do the hard work for them, so that then you're going to be so weak, so malnourished, and so unable to fight that you basically have no choice but to surrender, because you wouldn't stand a chance in an open field. But if the oligarchy has kept their food stores and critical supplies and what have you airtight, how are you supposed to out-siege them? Because obviously the sieging people have to have food as well. Unless there so happens to be a forest nearby with all manner of wildlife around, like deer or what have you, they're going to be hard-pressed to actually be able to feed themselves. So if the people in the castle can outlast you, if you can outlast them rather, when they're sieging you, they can't do shit. But if you don't have the food and they're sieging you, you're basically screwed. So if a 1924 style shutdown is going to work, you've got to think strategically. I think Danny Unfiltered pretty much covered this perfectly. That's the thing. And as I said, I'm not condoning on stroke number 3, not advocating for a civil war or a violent revolution. But that's where my mind would be if that were to come about, quite frankly. Because the oligarchy can only do so much if they're basically having to hold down the fort without supplies. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to see it go to that. None of us want it to go to that. As far as self-defense is concerned as well, like I've commented in that other video, Paul Thorpe didn't want to make that video. None of us want to have to make videos like that. How do you think it makes us feel, knowing that we can't trust the police to protect us? The people that you're supposed to feel comfortable around, feel like you can actually rely on them to defend you, when they're more interested in protecting the paedophiles of Muhammad. Well, how are we supposed to feel safe when you won't even do your fucking job? So, I guess I'll say it again to our two-tier policing society. You got two choices. Start doing your fucking job, or don't be surprised when the English people decide they're going to carry some kind of personal defence. I'm not going to advocate for it, because I don't want to basically be responsible for advocating for people to break the law. But what I will say is I completely understand why some of these people now feel like they should be carrying pepper spray, or they might take Paul Thorpe's advice in carrying a can of WD-40. Like, that's the thing. If you are not willing to protect the very indigenous population that you're supposed to be serving, don't blame us if we start carrying our own personal defence and taking law into our own hands. I am far from advocating for vigilante justice. But at this point, as I said, you've got two choices. You do your fucking job, or step aside and we'll do it for you. The ball's in your court. We don't want to have to resort to this. We don't want to have to resort to taking the law into our own hands, quite frankly. Because that's your job, not ours. But if you're not willing to fairly and justly dish out equally proportionate levels of law to every person in this country, you are not fit for purpose. And to any of the coppers who are staying silent over the corruption of the superintendents, or maybe I was right first time, if you're not willing to speak out against the corruption that these fuckers are bringing, then in my opinion, there are no good police officers. Not every officer is a bad cookie at heart. But some of them have got some really shit-filled centres in them. Let me tell you. The bottom line is this can't continue for much longer. We cannot continue living in an anarchy-tyrannical society. We cannot keep conceding our rights for the two-tier policing society. And likewise, the two-tier policing society can't keep giving preferential treatment to a group of people because they fear a 6-letter word. If you keep doing that, then the people are going to start taking the law into their own hands. And then you really will have a problem, because you'll see just how pissed off and nasty the English man and woman can truly be. And believe me, you won't enjoy it. If you think that we're going to sit here and take your abuse any longer, you've got another thing coming. Where were you for the victims of the rape gangs? Where were you when there were people getting stabbed, whether it's on a train, whether it's on a bridge, whether it's in a fucking hospital or whatever? Where were you then? Where were you when Lee Rigby was beheaded? Where were you when Axel Radaku Banana butchered those 3 girls? You were more interested in protecting Axel Radaku Banana than you were protecting us. You were far more heavy-handed in the people of the Southport riots than you were with that fucking cunt. And you wonder why you've lost the respect of the public. Yes, I do accept that I've still got to do a bit more of looking at Friedrich Nietzsche. Those who fight monsters should be careful that they themselves do not become a monster themselves. I do accept that. But the cold, bitter truth is, the police and Keir the traitor Starmer and the whole Labour Party, or again, maybe I was right first time, they are making us into monsters. They were already monsters, and now they're turning ordinary people into monsters. And the transformation is quite terrifying. You see, loving, wholesome, peaceful people and families and Christians who love their country, who are taught to love thy neighbour, love thy enemy. Well, some people like beer, and they consider that an enemy, or their mothers tell them that. Anyway, there are people who are being told, love thy enemy. But right now, we don't feel any love for our enemies. And the enemies right now, we're staring at them in the police uniform. We see them in a suit and a tie and wearing glasses not too dissimilar to these, who sits at a podium bragging about, we will bring change. Those are our enemies right now. The career politicians, the lying scumbags, the sectarian bastards in those houses of Parliament, and of course 10 Downing Street. Friedrich Nietzsche, I will have to remember that name, because right now, I am seeing a terrifying transformation of this country. Once peaceful people are losing their cool. Once peaceful people are turning to war. Once peaceful people are starting to think that civil war is the only option left. And Keir the traitor Starmer will only have himself to blame when that civil war kicks off. We must be careful not to become the monsters we claim to be fighting. But in the end, sometimes it's too difficult to resist that urge. It is too difficult to not become a monster in order to protect the ones we love.